Perfect. Here we go. I'm Matt Hudgins. He's Dave Mulvaney, and this is Profitability MD. Mr. Mulvaney, how you doing today, buddy?
Matt, I am doing fantastic on this cold Florida day.
Here we go. What is cold in Florida?
It's 57 today.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my gosh. Look, I got a little sweater vest thing.
I'm wearing long sleeves. You notice that, right? So
I thought that was just to keep the sun off your pale white skin.
Supposed to be in the 70s tomorrow, though. We'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Oh, you're recovering. It's supposed to rain here all weekend. I may come down there this weekend, by the way.
If it's going to rain there, it's probably going to rain here. Matt's in Atlanta, so I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. So that's the difference. We're only 6 hours apart.
Yep.
About a 52-minute flight on Delta, which I know very well. I've only taken it a million times.
Right.
So Matt, you had some good success with a client of yours this week.
Yes, let's share a success story, and I think it'll build right into one of your posts I think you had up there today.
Okay.
It was awesome. So here's one of my coaching clients. And remember, we talked about the 5-step profit formula, which is you got to get more leads, you got to get more conversion, more transactions, higher pricing, and profitability. So that's our 5-step formula. Number one, generating more leads. So we would all do better having more opportunities, more ads. You do better, I do better. My clients, your clients, everybody who happens to listen to this, we do better with more ads. So one of the strategies we talk about is using LinkedIn to generate opportunities, right?
Yep.
It's just one of the strategies we use. And so I'm going to kind of outline that without giving specifics away with my client details and stuff like that, except that it was a huge success and some dollars. Anyway, so basically, I can tell you what he does. He sells a service. So he sells a service. I don't want to be specific from that, but he sells a service. So it's not widgets, right? So it's a service. And we just started this within the last 5 weeks, right?
Okay, good.
So I'm just going to call it a LinkedIn sales funnel. So here are the steps to generate more opportunities through LinkedIn. The idea being is there are some fundamental steps you and I talk about all the time. We got to know who our target audience is and what our unique selling proposition is. We got to know all that stuff in advance for any strategy to work, right?
Yes,
kind of fundamentals. You would agree with that. You've talked about that before when your contractor's going after some of the commercial people. You got to tell them why you're different, what you do different, and that type of stuff, right? Unique selling proposition. All right, so we do that in LinkedIn. Most people use LinkedIn as a resume database, right? And they've got on there, hey, I worked here and I did that, and oh, I'm really good at X, Y, Z. But it's all about me, right? So the first thing you have to do on a LinkedIn strategy is change it to what we call a client-facing profile. It's the language I use is interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. So I've got to interrupt, engage, tell you, hey, you've got this type problem. I help people solve this problem, right? I help people solve the 5 biggest problems before retirement. I help business owners solve their 5 biggest problems with their business. I help business owners with the 5 biggest hurdles to growing their business rapidly, right? That would be more like a client-facing profile. If you've got this problem, I solve this type of problem. Once we did that, we would generate what I would call, what do? We need to connect with everybody we know. So we got to connect with all your past clients, existing clients, your centers of influence, people who send you referrals, right? We got to do that. Why not? Start connecting with those people. Then what we got to do is start getting people to engage with us, right? So in order to engage with us, we would start with some piece of content. It could be an interesting article. It could be an article you wrote, somebody else wrote, a checklist you put together, any of that type of content, a blog post. You're the big bloggers. We can use one of your blog posts to get engaged with. And so it would be send out a message to connect with somebody. Hey, Bill, found you on LinkedIn. Would love to connect with you. I see you're also a Georgia Bulldog fan. Go Dogs. I went to Georgia. This guy went to Georgia. Great way to connect.
Words that never come out of my mouth.
Well, you could use Florida. Hey, go
But you
Gators.
have to remember, I do have a niece that's a Georgia Bulldog graduate. So
Yes.
it's not, I mean, there's no more hatred, okay? We'll just leave it at that. There is a reason I could love the school, but it's very hard.
I get it. So my point is you got to have tell people what you do, who's your target audience, tell people what problem you solve. Then you got to start reaching out and engaging with people that we don't know. But the beauty of LinkedIn is you can connect with anybody who is a second connection. So that would be a friend of Dave Mulvaney's I could connect with because you and I are connected on LinkedIn. Those are called second connections. Now, how do I get you to engage? I got to send you an invite. So there's a whole invite sequence that we would send that would say something like, hey, love to connect. See, we've got some mutual friends. Go Dogs, go Gators, right? After that, you're going to respond back. I think the response rate is somewhere between, it's pretty high, 25, 30, 35% of people will accept your invitation and say, yes, let's connect. Because they view it as a networking site, right? After that, we need to start engaging with them. So we need to start a conversation. So you think of this as a virtual cup of coffee. If you and I met a stranger at Starbucks or a prospect at Starbucks, the conversation would go something like, hey, Dave, tell me a little bit about what you do, where you're from, what you've been doing, what are your goals, where you're trying to get to. But it's a conversation, right? I don't go there and say, trying to marry you on the first date, right? So LinkedIn and email, for that matter, is a conversation, a virtual cup of coffee conversation. So you got to think of that. That's how we start engaging with people on LinkedIn. That's how we should be engaging with people on email. And that's actually how we should engage with people face-to-face, right? It's a conversation. We don't want to see mechanical, salesy, cheesy. It's a conversation. So just for that, we would say we could go find our target audience. We're looking for, let's say we're looking for salespeople that work for software companies, right? Maybe that's my target market. So I could do a search on LinkedIn, specific targeted market. I would reach out to connect with those people that are second connections of mine. I would do what I call the invitation sequence. I would do kind of the get to know you sequence. And then we get into what I call kind of the drip marketing sequence, which would be, here's an interesting article, about how to increase your sales at software or how to do X, Y, Z. Thought you might find it interesting. On there, some sort of call to action. But really what it is a 3 or 4 email sequence. Hey, thought you might find this article interesting. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways I can help you. Here's another interesting article I thought you might find interesting. Oh, here's an article I wrote. Here's a checklist I wrote. You can build that campaign. You can actually tie it back into email. Anyway, what ends up happening is you're just trying to catch the guys that engage, right? So I think we've talked about it before. Chet Holmes was this guy, which I love, the marketing machine. Tony Robbins bought his business. Unfortunately, Chet died about 3 years ago. But he always
he died of prostate cancer, I believe.
I think that's what it was, yeah. But they've got what they call the buyer's pyramid, which they say 3% of people are interested in buying exactly what you want today, right? So you could send out this whole get to know you thing, and 3% maybe would want to buy your product or service today, right? But there's this other 97% that don't really know what you do. They might be interested if we nurture the relationship, if we have that cup of coffee virtually. So my success story was I had a guy, one of my coaching clients, and we started this process for him. We changed his client profile. We got his unique selling proposition. Here's what he does. Here's how he adds value. Here's the problems he solves. We got him to connect with his connections. We got him to start an invitation campaign where he's connected with second connections. We got a target market. So we're specifically connecting to second connection target market. From that, we created the invite sequence, the get to know sequence, and then what I call the nurturing sequence. And from that, he got an interested buyer who closed on a $30,000 deal, which could be up to $90,000. He's got tiered pricing, so we're going to get you to this, $30,000, $60,000.
Let's pause, if you don't mind me asking some questions along the way. You've mentioned 3 sequences: a nurturing sequence, a follow-up sequence. Now, are you doing those sequences through LinkedIn, or are you bringing them to a landing page, web page, and then using an email sequence? I think it's good for our listeners to.
And that's a great point. So what I would say would be there is no wrong answer, and I believe doing a combination of all of the above, right? So if I send you an article that's somebody else's article, that's going to be a messenger through LinkedIn. There's no download or anything like that, right? If I'm going to send you a checklist, maybe I would make that a PDF download that you would have to come to download from my website, right?
Perfect.
Because then you give me your email, right?
Yeah.
If it's a blog post, like you said, go to your blog or my blog, and then read my article. And at the end, we have a call to action, and maybe they'd want a call to action from that blog post, and then I get their emails, right? But the interesting thing is one of these guys named Josh Turner. So my gurus are Josh Turner and John Nemo, and there's another guy, I can't remember his name. I'm looking around. I thought I printed it out right here. There's a guy that I follow that we learn on these strategies and stuff, and kind of put it together myself based on those. So there's a combo where you could do this email. So you do it messaging through LinkedIn. Watch that. So listen, I send you an interesting article, then I send you a checklist, and I send you one of my blog posts. All right. Then I can send you, that was all through LinkedIn. Then I could double up on that and redo it through email. Now the idea is you probably have your email address on the LinkedIn page somewhere. Most people do. So then I could say, hey, Dave, I sent you this interesting article through LinkedIn. I don't know how often you check LinkedIn. It's pretty clunky. Just wanted to make sure you saw it, right? And then I could send you another. That was an email. So I could repeat that sequence that I did through LinkedIn. I could repeat it through email. And now I've talked to you 6 times, 3 of which was through LinkedIn and 3 of which was through your email system. Because I don't know which one people are going to respond to better. It seems to me like a lot of people are checking LinkedIn more often than they used to. But because email, you get 400, the average person gets something like 400 plus emails a day. So that's also the reason why it's okay to repeat. So part of my theory and philosophy is, let's say that was a 4 email sequence. Messaging sequence. You would do a 4 message sequence on LinkedIn, followed by a 4 message sequence on email. That would be 8. And then I could just repeat it next 8 weeks from now, right? Because maybe the first time you saw that article, you didn't find it interesting, or you never saw it, or it just wasn't the right time for you. You weren't even thinking about that. But 8 weeks later, oh yeah, I do need some extra. Oh, that is interesting. So there's something to be said about consistency and staying in front of people, and then being in front of what people do business they like and trust, and the last guy they saw.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Well, and it's funny, the last guy you saw, it's funny you bring that up, because one of the things I do, I post on my blog 4 to 5 times a week. And I say 4 to 5 times. 4 of those times, most of the time, it's something I write that morning. So I'm out of bed 5:30. I'm a pretty early riser. So I typically write undoubtedly what I dreamt about that night. I eat, sleep, and drink business. So, but that being said, I write pretty much in the morning. That's what I do while I'm having my coffee before I exercise. But when I post to LinkedIn, I don't necessarily, they are directed to a landing page, typically. So I bring them away from LinkedIn.
Right.
However, my post on LinkedIn is an article posted on LinkedIn. One of the things I train is how to create that article, of course. But that article, then I share it 3 or 4 times a day. So if I
same article.
What's that?
Same article. You'll share that
because
article.
What will happen is the one I post in the morning usually goes up somewhere between 6 and 7:30, somewhere in that range, and it might go as late as 9 o'clock. Just depends if I start exercising before I post. It doesn't matter. But usually I post in the morning. Then around noon I'll post it again. Then around 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon I share it again. The one at 4 to 5 in the afternoon I find has the most views. Now, so that tells me that it's gone way down in the feed, the morning one. Because if I don't post to that afternoon one, I'll miss somewhere in the area of 20, 25 views. And then I'll typically post it again at night. Those 2 later ones get more views than the morning ones. That tells me that most of the people, I've got about 1,250 connections. So I'm not like killing it on LinkedIn at this point. But it doesn't matter because they're targeted, super targeted. And a lot of people think I need 1,000 leads. I need 1,000. No, you don't. If they're targeted, you don't need that many. So, I think the key for people is get a targeted list. I do connect with people that are my 3rd connection if they're my targeted list. It's not as easy, of course. Right. I mean, you have to send them a note and things like that. That's for a whole nother webinar for you and I to do, or a whole nother podcast. But that being said, connecting with your target market and then putting your message in front of them, I have found that's very effective. Sending little links and little articles I do that all the time. I don't typically repost those. But Patrick Bet David, I might post something he did, or Gary Vanderchuk. I'll post different things. And I like Gary, but Gary is very 50,000 square or 50,000 foot view. I like people to be. I like to get real specific.
Yeah, we like tactical action items. Yes.
Yeah. So, and anytime you're marketing, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on a blog, whether it's a video, it doesn't matter. I wrote about this morning. What is your goal behind marketing? And I get responses from people, Matt. They'll say, well, I'm branding, or I'm trying to get my message out there. And there's a lot of responses we get to that, but
what's the right response?
Well, there is no wrong response when it comes.
No, there is. What's the response?
The big thing is marketing needs to be specific. So
yes,
picture an attorney. Okay, an attorney's got to present a case. Now, so that you have to, when you're marketing, you have to present your case. And what's the problem? What problem are you going to solve for your client? Or and it's not always a problem. Sometimes it's what are you going to do to make their life better? Like Apple, made billions, even arguably trillions off 1,000 songs in the palm of your hand. A very simple message, but so they made people's life better with a very simple message. Okay, so you've got to present this case. And then once you've done that, you got to show them how to solve that problem, or how you're going to make their life better. You're going to show them, and then you want to make sure they know that you're really good at solving that problem. I think that's a big step, but you want to position yourself as an expert. And I think, you've heard me talk about it before. I don't think it's you don't have to be the only expert. I mean,
right.
Patrick Bet David, Grant Cardone, Russell Brunson, Ray Edwards, they're not the only experts in the industry. There's lots of experts, but each person you're connecting with, whether it's through LinkedIn or through email, each person you're connecting with might not know any of them, but they might know you. And that's why messaging and talking to them and creating that relationship is so important, because now if they know you're an expert and it will solve their problem or make their life better, the chances are they're going to seek you. So now that they know that you want to help them, you have to give them a call to action. And that call to action can be simply asking for a response. That coffee cup, hey, if you're having a cup of coffee, what response would you want after the end of the cup of coffee? In the old days, you wanted to make a sale. When I say the old days, direct response marketing written from 1920 through probably 1988, maybe even 95, that direct response marketing was mostly done through mail. But as we moved into the computer age, at first it was, hey, let's make a sale here. Let's make a sale. Well, that's not, people want to be courted before they're going to make a sale. They want to know that Matt Hudgins is an expert and that he can help me make 30 grand. Okay. I want to make 30 grand. Matt, can you help me make 30 grand? And then, so that answer has to be, well, yeah, I could help you make 30 grand. Well, show me how you're going to do that. Talk me through how that would look. And then, so at the end of it, you have to ask for a response. So a lot of times, you see my posts always have a call to action at the end. Hey, I'm doing a free webinar this Thursday, or I've got a free class. I've got a really, really, really solid. Right now, it's at my website at davidmulvaney.com, and it's excellent. It's 5 days. Takes 10 minutes a day on the 1 week time miracle. And if you apply it, I used it every day, and it's how I keep track of how to stay focused. We did one of our shows, not on it, but on some of the things that go along with it. And I think people can, if you can be more effective with your time, it changes everything. So, I give those away for free. Why? Because I want a response. And if they end up in my target market, there's a possibility they may end up a client later, a client for you. And then, well, how does that work? Well, it works when they make 30 grand. That's the,
right. There's a success
we
story.
want to help our clients make money. But ultimately, I don't want clients who I don't want. I mean, I've got a whole list of things I don't want in a client. When we talk about your target market, well, I got a whole bunch of people that I don't want.
Well, that's a good point too.
I don't want whiners. I don't want people who aren't super positive. I want people who know where they're going. I mean, I have a whole list of things that is not just what I want, but what I don't want in a client. And I think when people look at their target market, they should be as specific as possible, including the things they don't want.
I think that's perfect. All right, man. You just said like three things that I want to double back on. So hold on.
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
So one of the things you said, we're talking about, there's a bunch of coaches out there. There are a bunch of Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk. And it's really funny you say that because there's another guy named David Bayer who I follow, this guy called Mindhack. And then I draw it back to golf. So golf's my passion. And so the golf analogy I have is, so here's the difference. There are a lot of plumbers out there. There are a lot of electricians out there. There are a lot of coaches out there. There are a lot of financial advisors out there. But your uniqueness can just be that you're different, right? Or it's the right timing. And so I use golf as the analogy, which would be, let's say I saw this golf coach or this golf video on YouTube a year ago. And it said, here's a great drill, and you put 2 tees in the ground, and you swing inside out. A year ago, didn't catch my breath, right? I saw the drill, but I didn't think about it. Didn't even come to mind. But now, because I'm hitting a fade, that does matter to me, right? So remember I saw that video a year ago that was about you put the 2 tees in it, right? Or maybe I forgot that I even saw that a year ago, and I see somebody else who has that exact same drill, but because a year ago I wasn't having trouble hitting a fade, I didn't think about it. So this new guy tells me the exact same drill that I had seen a year ago on YouTube, but now it's the right time, it's the right space, or his take on that drill is different or better or just rubs me the right way. So it's the same drill. My goodness, how many golf coaches can there be? They're all going to teach you the same stuff, right? But you need a golf coach that clicks with you, that works with you, that you understand or gets you or you get them, right? But there are a million golf coaches out there. Yeah. That's like there's a million plumbers, there's a million, but there's plenty of opportunity. That comes back from abundance. It might just be they heard it from you and it struck with them. It might just be they heard it from you at the exact right time and it struck them. It might be they weren't even thinking about it till now and it struck them. So the world needs more than one coach. The world needs more than one plumber, more electrician, more than one lawyer. So that was one thing you really hit on me, which I like the golf analogy of it. The other thing that was really, there's a research report that
and not everybody can afford Butch Harmon. Okay, I mean
that's a great analogy too.
Okay, I mean, yes. if you want a one-on-one coaching session with Tony Robbins, now first of all, you're going to pay 7 figures for that. So it's important to understand, and that's probably going to be an hour or 2 of coaching. So not everybody can afford a Tony Robbins, and frankly, they don't have any business being with him anyway, because the people who can afford it can take something in a couple hours and say, yeah, I can use that right now.
I can apply it right now.
I don't think, if I hired Tony Robbins, he'd probably talk so far above my head at this point in my life. But I have a coach, that I pay annually, and paying $15,000, $20,000 for a coach is nothing. Okay, because I'm at the level where that's the right coach for me. So that's why there's also different coaches. Anyway, go on to your next point.
No, okay. The second one was talking about why people work with you, right? And so this was a study on professional services. And so that could be a lawyer, accountant, a financial advisor, an insurance guy, but professional services. But it probably applies to a contractor or any other business, right?
Sure.
And it says, I work with you because you know and understand me. You've worked with people like me before, right? So let's do that as a contractor who is somebody, I need to redo my kitchen cabinets. Who do I want to work for? Somebody that's been doing kitchen cabinets for a while, and probably somebody that I was referred to from a friend of mine or from the tile guy. right? The tile guy recommended you. He said you've been doing a great job, and he's right because you know and understand my situation. I need new kitchen cabinets, right? So the number one reason people work with you is because you have done this before. You worked with people like me before in my situation. So
Yep.
I think it's very universal, whether it be plumbing, whether it be electrical, whether it be contractor, whether it be a lawyer or professional services. So that was another one. And my third one, I was going to go back to you. You said you post that something 3 times a day, 6, 12, and 4. Do you automate that? How do you do that? Because we don't want to get the impression that this takes forever every day, that somebody needs to be.
Well, once you write an article, I automate a lot of what I do. That's why I want to direct on my website, because I have a series of, well, at least 52 emails that they're going to get from me that are already set up. I mean, so,
right.
But I have more than 52, but a series of them are set up to go at certain times. Like, I mean, right. And that's important because then I can talk to them. I've written them. I edit those things, but I've written them to them. But
you've automated. My point. You've automated the business.
Correct. But resharing my post, what ends up happening is the reason I log back into LinkedIn is because I'm connecting with people, and I do need to talk to them if they ask me something during the day. So I log back in at those times. To reshare a post takes 1 second. I just click share. I don't retype anything new. Just click share. So, you know, some things you have to do manually. You have to pick up the phone and call your customers. You know,
that's right.
A lot of people are like, well, how do I automate that? Well, you know, human interaction. You and I cannot automate this webinar. This, this call we do every Wednesday. You can't automate everything. As much as we'd like to, if you're a contractor and you're building a house for somebody, you can't automate that. Somebody's got to swing a hammer. Somebody's got to pour concrete. Not everything can be automated, but you want to automate as much of your business as possible. If it can be automated, and that's what we need to look at in our businesses. All right, how can we do this better, and how can we automate as much of this as possible? Because then you can be as you know, when you think of Tim Ferriss, the 4-hour work week, a lot of people are like, oh, that's bogus. I would never read it because you can never work 4 hours. It's not what Tim was talking about in the book. What he was talking about is he loves what he does. He works a lot. And if anybody who actually knows about Tim, he works a lot. But his 4-hour work week is the 4 hours of crap that you have to do. I have a 4-hour work week that I do a lot of my buffer. If you know Dan Sullivan, I do my buffer days on Friday. I try to do focus days Monday through Thursday, where I focus 100% on money-making activities. And then Friday, I fill in all the crap. That's a pain in the butt, and you got to do it anyway. But that's usually Fridays, which everybody loves Fridays. So that's how I structure my week, so that I'm doing a lot of the day-to-day crap on Friday. So
that's good. I like it. So they're automated.
Yep.
All right. You know what? I think we're right at our darn time again. This goes by so quickly every time.
It does. But I don't want to make it longer than typically in that 30-minute range, because I think the attention span is there. So Matt just helped a client make $30,000. So if you're looking to make $30,000, and
that's right.
Where do you find Matt?
Yes. So for me, it's 10xprofitblueprint.com. That's the best thing. 10xprofitblueprint.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We talk about that as well. Matt Hudgins on LinkedIn.
And
how about you?
You can find me at davidmulvaney.com. I post almost a daily blog. You can find this at Profitability MD, and subscribe to our YouTube link, our YouTube channel. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at David Mulvaney.
And your webinar. Don't forget your webinar.
Oh, and every Thursday I do a webinar that you can sign up. It's free, but it's 4 p.m. Eastern time. And what I do is I show you how to use LinkedIn to get new customers. That is mainly geared around people in the electrical world. Right. Believe me about this. It'll work in any business. I don't care if you're in real estate. I don't care if you're, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It works because I show you how to create a direct response customer acquisition system. And but you can sign up to that at thecontractorblueprint.com. And that webinar happens on Thursdays, and that's the easiest way to reach both of us. So
perfect.
So, Matt, I will
Always,
talk to you soon, and
always a pleasure.
keep helping your clients make 30 grand in a week. Well, in 5
Well,
weeks. How about 5 weeks? That's
5 weeks. Give me 5 weeks, would you?
all right. We'll talk
All right.
soon, Matt. Take
See
care.
ya.